Hey guys, Pro1701 here, and today we are going to be reviewing The Invasion with the second Doctor. Now, this was a video that was voted on by my patrons. I asked them which animation or story that was either completely animated or partially animated they wanted me to rewatch. They picked The Invasion, so that's what we'll be talking about today. I really like this one. It was a little harder to get through this time because I bought the DVD for it last year. And I think I'd watched it twice before this. It's kind of like my third time watching it in less than 2 years. So it was a little harder to get through. But it fills out its 8 parts pretty well for the most part. You could have done it, I think, in 6 or 7. But I like its 8-part pacing. First off, the animation for it is really good. Especially when you realize that it was the first one to be animated. And it was done several years before the second one would be done, because this one was done in 2006, and the animation holds up really well. My main complaint would be Jamie's face. His mouth looks a little odd when he talks, but other than that, I think the animation does well. They really get Troughton. His face looks really good. I love how well they do Troughton from all the different angles. Victoria's pretty good. The guest actors and stuff, when you see them, do really well. I love how well they do Vaughn. Vaughn's face still has that sinister look to it that Vaughn just kind of oozes. I really like that they get Troughton's mannerisms down pretty well. Some of the stuff he's doing with his hands is done better than some of the stuff done in the more modern animation. So I really like that they get his body language down fairly well. Like there's an animated scene in The Office in episode 1 when he's talking to Vaughn in Vaughn's office, and he's kind of doing this with his hands. And that's the same thing you see him do, I believe it's in episode 8 when he's talking to Vaughn in his office later. So it's like they looked at episode 8 and had him, just drew him to do that in episode 1 where he's doing his hands like this, which really works. And then he does that kind of jumping thing when he's running away from the Cybermen getting shot at. They added that as an animation in another episode when he's kind of dodging bullets and he's jumping. It's a nice little nod to it. I think the animation is really, really good here. I think every time I watch this story, I appreciate the animation more and more, because it does a lot of things that later animations wouldn't do. There's a lot of details. I like the fluidity of movement, actually, and the way the mouth moves when they talk most of the time, especially with Troughton. It's a really, really good animation. The story is good. I love the fact that just the title doesn't give the Cybermen away. You know, it's kind of a surprise when you see them. And the fact they don't show up till halfway through the story, it kind of reminds me of Colony in Space with the Master. I love the fact that Colony in Space kind of lures you into a false sense of security, thinking you might not actually see the Master that season. And then he shows up halfway through it. He shows up, like, I think during episode 4, at the end of episode 4. It's the same thing here. You don't really know the Cybermen because you already have a good villain with Vaughn and Packard. I really like both of them. Packard's the more not too smart, but, you know, kind of evil, almost sadistic. Let's call him 60s level sadistic. You know, you kind of get the sense that he takes a little bit of pleasure in what he does. He kind of enjoys being in that position of authority that Vaughn gives him. Whereas Vaughn comes across as kind of that sociopath villain who's a genius, but he's an evil genius. And the actor who plays him, Ken, I think his name is Ken. He's really, really good. I know he also played in Dalek's Master Plan. Man, he looks the part of that villain. He oozes it well. He can be, even when he's being sweet and nice, you can tell there's something to it, something sinister. Even the Doctor picks up at it. He mentions it in episode 1. There's something behind there, something sinister. I like how well that Vaughn is performed. The actor does a really good job with him. And just seeing the build up to, well, what is he up against? What is he up against? Who is he talking to? Who is the invasion with? And then that reveal of the Cybermen at the end of episode 4 is really good. I really like this cyber design, especially the helmets. The body is good. It's not the best. I kind of like the Earthshock Cybermen, 80s Cybermen bodies better, because I like that little baggier look. I don't care for the skin-tight diving suits as much. It doesn't really, to me, convey what's happened to the people in the suit. I tend to prefer the more 10th Planet suits or the Earthshock suits, because you kind of get that impression of that's what's left of a human being in there, and this doesn't really portray that. But I love the helmets. Of all the Cybermen helmets, these are probably my favorite Cybermen helmets. And it's weird, because I didn't realize growing up that these were only used in The Invasion and Revenge. But I love that blank face with the helmets. I love those. Got some of the most iconic scenery in Doctor Who in this story. When the Cybermen are coming out of the sewers, and when you see them walking around the city and down the steps with the buildings behind them. Some of the most iconic scenery in all of Doctor Who. Is really well shot. Hardly surprising. This is a Douglas Camfield directed story, and I absolutely love Douglas Camfield as a Doctor Who director. He was fantastic. The story definitely benefits from having him behind the camera. I really enjoyed the story. I love having the Brigadier back, and as the Brigadier for the first time, as he was a colonel in Web of Fear. I love that they brought Nicholas Courtney back. This is our first time seeing Benton. I really like the guy playing the captain in it, too. I can't remember his name. The one the girl with the camera flirts with. She does a good job as well. I really like this because it's kind of like the first Pertwee story, even though it's not Pertwee. I mean, you could argue Web of Fear for that, too. But I love the idea. Much like I consider Robot a post-Pertwee story, I consider The Invasion a pre-Pertwee story, as it is kind of what laid the groundwork for what we would get in the Pertwee era. And it's just kind of nice to see a Pertwee story with Troughton in it. It's wonderful. Nice how it changes up the dynamic a little bit. I love Troughton in this. He is just always great. Troughton's always great. I love Troughton. I mean, he's one of my 3 favorite Doctors. He's just amazing. I like when they're trying to get away from the unit people, even though they don't know they're the unit people, and he just sits down and plays cards. What do they do? Might as well wait. When they walk up, he's like, and he's just like. And I like in episode 8 when he's getting away and all the units, and he's sitting down and the unit soldiers are running past him, and the girl wants to take his picture. He's like, well, I need he's posing. I absolutely love it. I love it. Of course, watching Vaughn realize the Cybermen are going to turn on him, which we all knew. Watching him realize it, and then I love how he did manage to get himself together and was trying to fight back against them. He and help the Doctor. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I like The Invasion. There's a lot of good stuff going in it. The shots in the sewers are really well done. Although whether those are actually sewers or sets, I'm not sure. But it looks really, really good. I love the cinematography in this story. I really, really enjoy The Invasion. I can see why they didn't use Professor Travers and Ann Travers, just because they didn't want to have to pay to use those names, since those were created in previous stories. And how they came up with the other professor and his daughter to use as kind of surrogates for that. And they work fine. I think the actors both playing them do a really good job. I like the story. I really enjoy The Invasion. I think it's objectively probably the best made Cyberman story of the 60s overall. It's not my favorite. It's probably my second favorite, because I'd probably say the Moonbase is my favorite, because I love the Moonbase a lot. But I really think The Invasion's well put together, especially being 8 parts. It fills out its 8 parts really well. I love the fact the reveal of the Cyberman is like halfway through it. And so you have not only the threat of Vaughn and Packer, but you have the threat of the Cybermen going on. I love how well the Brigadier is done in this story. I love how trusting he is of the Doctor. He's actually more trusting of the Doctor here than he would be of the 3rd Doctor later. It's almost like the 2nd Doctor and the Brigadier have a more friendly relationship. It's where the Brigadier and the 3rd Doctor, while they still get along and trust each other, theirs is a little more volatile. There's a little more bickering between them, because the 3rd Doctor has more of an alpha male thing, I think, than the 2nd Doctor does. And even in the 5 Doctors, you see the Brigadier and the 2nd Doctor just get on so well. They don't have that kind of bickering, disagreement stuff that him and the 3rd Doctor have a lot. And I love the scene when Zoe's wanting to do the calculations for the missiles, and the guy running the place is kind of arguing with her about time and stuff, and the Brigadier's like, give her 30 seconds. No, let her do it. Give her 30 seconds. The fact that being a friend of the Doctor's, the Brigadier is backing her immediately. I love that. I love how well Nicholas Courtney plays that. And I love the fact that he doesn't even question the 2nd Doctor with stuff, because he gets the 2nd Doctor's, he's an alien. He's an intelligent guy. You should listen to him. He doesn't. When the Doctor's like, what about this? I need to do this. And the Brigadier, I got it. I'm on it. You need a chopper? I got a chopper. You going in there? All right, here's a radio. I absolutely love that the Brigadier knows, okay, this is the guy I need to be listening to. And he's like that in the Web of Fear as well. He's just immediately pretty trusting of him. Not in a bad way. I think it's good. He catches on really quick. This is somebody I need to listen to, because he knows his stuff. He's got really good intuition here, and I really, Really enjoyed that. So yes, I do believe The Invasion is fantastic. I enjoyed the rewatch. Again, it's a little hard to get through because it's like the third time I've watched it in 2 years. And I did watch it over the course of like 3 days or 4 days. But I do very much enjoy it. I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. So what do you think of The Invasion? Let me know down in the comments below. Other things to do, click the like button, click the subscribe button, click the bell for notifications so you never miss out on another video. I also have a Patreon. If you like what I do and would like to contribute to what I do, there is a link to that down in the description below. My entry-level tier is only $2 a month if you just want to contribute just a little bit to help me out. Or not. Most importantly, more than anything, I just appreciate you watching.